Hello everybody, I hope I'm live now and you will hear me. So I want to make first of all a checkup, is this possible? I think we're on time and I hope that you hear me very clearly. I'm not sure, but I hope that. It will be very fine if somebody, Diana or Iona, write me a message if this is working. But I think it's working and I hope you understand my English very well. So I think we can start in 1 minute. So it is 3 o'clock at Brussels time. Yeah, I think I start now. So I hope you have the presentation now on your display. Today's module called Youth Work Response, including Nonviolent Communication. And yeah, we'll start. So who I am, my name is Tubakara and I am from Switzerland. So origin from Turkey, but I live in Switzerland. I'm 29 years old and yeah, you will be interested why I am from Switzerland and making this course, because we're not in the European Union, but we are in the Youth Action Program also, and we're in Europe also. So I think because of that, it's okay that we are in the topic too, and we are discuss with you and want to be in the same soup of experts. Yeah. Excuse my English, and I'm sick at the moment. I'm in Jordan, and yeah, because of the air conditioner, I get sick. Yeah, about me, I'm studying now social work and masters. I've done my bachelor degree 2 years before. In 2016, 2 years before, also I make a small company, a small company called Trans Education, and we are doing Islamic education and prevention. And today I'm responsible for a youth club in a district of Zurich called Dietliker, and we're still go on with our little company called Trans Education. And my responsibility is the project called this Islamic Discussion Club, and we talk about our experience today from Islamic Discussion Club also. So what I do exactly at our small company called Trans Education is we have 3 projects, and they are adapted to the main topics of extremism and radicalization. And as I said, I am responsible to the one of the main projects called Islamic Discussion Club, and I am working with youth between 12 and 21 years. And we do also the same discussion club for adults and for other institutions or universities, but we call them Islamic classes, this project, because it is the same, but it is for adults. So, and what we also want to do is coming soon, I hope so. I think in autumn, winter time, it will be start. We want to make a project called Islamic Media Club, because we are thinking that we are reaching more youngsters and also adults with a media project. We want to do some video projects where we want to be concentrated for kids, but it also for adults, and that should be videos for education in Islamic topics or in radicalization also. So first of all, because before I jump in our today's topic, it is important to get a definition from experts. So I choose the definition from Marshall Rosenberg, and what's his definition tells us is that nonviolent communication integrates four things. The first of all is consciousness, and then language, communication, and means of influence. So when we take a look at this and look to this in more detail, we can see that the first, the consciousness, is he means with them that we have also we have everything every time, the collaboration and courage and authenticity in our language. So it is very important that when we talk about nonviolent communication, that we have this in our back mind, because if you have not principles which supports a life of compassion, like for example, that you're not that you are incongruent, the people and also the teenagers, especially the teenagers, will feel that, and they imagine that you're not congruent with them. So consciousness is very, 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 very important when you work with teenagers. Also the language. So language is so important, because not only the language, the daily language, what you talk about, it's more what is behind the language. So to understand how to bring the words in a correct way. Because words can bring together and also make a big distance. When we are looking, for example, for teenagers, so words can disturb a lot of relations between you and youth if you don't care with your language. So they will they can be very angry with you, especially when they're migrants and came from a different country, and you're not use your language very well. They could be angry, and that could be it could be very hard for you, because relations going broken with them. And also the communication. So it is very important to ask a lot of questions. So it could help to understand each other, to understand the other side. So communication is also, sometimes communication can be a solution, but sometimes it is it could be a disagreement, and you have to know how to take a communication with teenagers who are sensible in our topic. So we talk about radicalization and nonviolent communication. So make sure that you know to ask for what they want, or when they disagree with some communication of you, make sure that you ask for, hey, what was false? Please tell me that. I will do it better, because I don't have no idea. I don't want to be you're angry. So And means of influence, Marshall, I think he's meaning something like we know as usual from politicians. So this is always using by politicians the power of words. So they he means that it is better to use the power to share the power with words. Or no, he's meaning that he want to share the power with others rather than using power over others or of others. So I think he's meaning something like to be always in hand, to do that hand in hand. So I think it is a good definition of nonviolent communication. Is what is the integration of these four things. But there are a lot of other definitions, so I take this one because it makes sense and it is very short. But you can also push the button. I put the link in it, and you can get more information if you want about his concept. After all, he put some adjectives what he is understand under what is violent communication, and there are a lot of adjectives which he is thinking that it is non-violent communication. So for example, finger pointing or speaking without listening could also be a violent communication, or reacting when you are angry, for example. Yeah, I think it speaks for itself, so you can read that. I think it's very interesting point that he also take the adjective of using political rhetoric. So I think depend on our topic, it is a very important adjective that political rhetoric is. You have to use that very, very, very careful because we are living in a very strange time. You know what I mean? So it could be that that teenagers, especially teenagers, are very angry with you if you use political rhetoric, and they're not agree with you. So yeah, you can take all the informations on the link I put it in. Yeah, I think it's enough theory for the beginning. So now we are in a more easy thing for me, because I can talk about our workshop experience, what we get from Islamic Discussion Club, especially from Islamic Discussion Club, and we have a lot of experience with teenagers between 12 and 18, and we take the top 6 of this very important things. For example, black and white thinking. We have the experience that especially teenagers, they have no gray farb color of thinking. So there are always statements like this is okay and this is not okay. Especially the Muslim ones, they always said something like this is haram and this is halal. So it is very difficult to break the thinking way of them, because yeah, they have a black and white thinking, and that's also not good. But I think it's a teenager thing, you know what I mean? So it is like they have no ideas what is okay, what is not. So they trust their mom, their parents, or their peer groups, and make sure that they show a good behavior. And yeah, sometimes they have a really, really huge black and white thinking, and I think that's very important to know, because you have to change that mind as a youth worker or a social worker, but you have to be sensitive with this, because, for example, a 15 or 16 years old teenager, they even they come to you and talk about something like radicalization, for example. They have their own mind, and you came and broke this. So yeah, be sensitive with these topics. So what our experience also include is prejudices. So say they have a lot of them, and it depends to the first thing. I think it's only sometimes, not only sometimes, because of their parents, they hear that from their home, and they have prejudices against their own culture sometimes, or own religion, but sometimes, for example, also to the government. And they have, it compares to the first point, they think, oh, they don't like us because we're Muslims, for example. Yeah, you have to break this too, so you have to talk about with them about this. Yeah, they always, not always, but sometimes they think about perpetrator and victim. So the Muslim ones, they're always think about what happened in the world with the Muslims, and they always feel like victim, because they said this is a very small group which makes a lot of problems in our world, and because of them, the whole Islam is in a very bad position, and they feel like victim. But if you say sometimes in a discussion, yeah, but you could also be the perpetrator. They they say something that sometimes, yeah, okay, we are sometimes, but the whole time, for example, the whole time, or the whole world is against us. And for example, they talk about what happened in Palestine, in Israel, and they feel victim because of that, for example. And rather than, I think they have the informations from media, because when I was 12 or 13 or 15 years, I have no idea about what's going on in the political Islam. But now they have social media, and they have a lot of informations. That brings me to the next point. They feel sometimes, yeah, they feel powerlessness. So for example, in Switzerland, the media always talk about the bad things. I think it's in your home country the same, about bad things, because people are interested in bad things. So there are not positive news about some good projects or some good things about Islamic things, but the war things and ISIS or ISIL things are always showing by media. And yeah, it makes the youth a feeling of powerlessness, because they say we can't do anything. The media is always talking bad about our religion. So the next point is they have no own opinion. So sometimes we ask them, is this your opinion, or is this your father's or your mom's opinion, or your grandpa's opinion? Because they have no own. And for the most of them, it is okay sometimes, because they are very young, so they don't have to have in every topic or every theme own opinion. But what makes the situation dangerous is when they take the opinion from their parents and make that to their self opinion. So we try to explain how important is it to have a own opinion, and rather than they can change the opinion from their parents also, for example, because sometimes they have hardliners at home, and it makes very difficult for us to break walls between, for example, Sunni and Shia, or Alevis and Sufis, or different religions or different cultures. So because of that, it is very important that you can say, hey, you have to have an own opinion. So, and what is one of the most important points is there are no stupid questions. So they have a lot of questions, really a lot of questions. The most of them are compared to their age, because they are teenagers and they want to know a lot of sexual things, and it's normal because of their age. But it's important to give them the feeling there are no stupid questions. Please talk about everything what you want. So that's our way in the workshops. So they have a lot of needs also. So we come now to the needs. So we think, me and my colleagues think, the most important thing is when you work with teenagers, to have a eye-to-eye level communication, and always be seriously with them, to take them seriously, because they feel it very quick when you're not serious with them, or when you think like, that's a teenager, it's not important at all. It is, because what they learn now create their minds for a whole time, or for a very long term in their life, because they have now time for thinking about something what happens, and something about their own religion or culture, and it stays for a while what they think now. So what we also think what is needed is to make a deconstruction about what happened, for example, in the Islamic world, what happened in Palestine, what happened in the Middle East, for example. So what is different now? What was in the beginning? What was in the start? So I think it's important to make a historical mind map. I think 100 years we should be concentrate on the last 100 years, or in the last century also, and be critical with them. So we try to be objective, but also critical, and we motivate them to be critical also with the things which are happened. Because they have no idea about the things what happened in the Muslim countries, but not only in the Muslim countries. It's a worldwide thing. Historical things. I think so. We come to the next point. We have to educate them in these points. So what we are always learning from them is that they have no idea about political and historical Islam. So because of that, we always start with the timeline and show them what happened in the last 100 years. Sorry. And then we have to separate what is culture and what is religion, because they mixed it up very, 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 very often. But I came to this point again. So we are thinking before you make the nonviolent communication things, you have to make a gender debate with them. So it is different what girls are needed and what is boys are needed, and what is needed by both of them, because yeah, because that's gender specific, and it compares to their age, but it is very different when you separate that group and you say, okay, we talk especially about things with the girls now and with the boys. So girls always you have to be, you have to make sure that you know what the speech content of girls is. So what do they mind? What do they think about? Um, what is the how can you prevent devaluation? So separate the girls to make sure that that the devaluation is not happen, because if you work with groups, and it's also very good to work with groups, but sometimes it makes sense to separate the group, because you can train the girls in or you can support them by preventing devaluation. So boys is a little bit different. Boys in a group are strong and cool, and they are not using emotional verbs, but make sure that they can use and they do use emotional verbs. And it's cool if you have a man in your team or in your by your colleagues, because they could be a role model and they can show their own feelings. And feelings are very okay. So make sure that they know, okay, my feelings are important too. I can show my feelings and I can talk about my feelings, because in this age it is very difficult for boys. And our experience is telling us that it is very important to be consequent with group rules. So and stop insults immediately, because if you don't stop it immediately, they will go on and they think, oh yeah, Tuba is very easy with them. No, she's not. So stop insults immediately. As I said, and consequent with the group rules which they create. So what we are doing when we go to our workshops, and we do the workshops 6 times, I think 2 hours. So we spend 12 hours with children and the teenagers mostly. We do we let them create their own group rules. So it's very important, but it's a youth work thing, you know that. And when you work with girls and boys at the same time, then you should first of all, after the group roles, define what is hate speech for them. So you can use international definition. You can use a few adjectives from the nonviolent communication from Marshall, but you can also create with your group what is hate speech for them. So it is important to have the own knowledge about that, or the same information. So it will help for prevent hate speech in the group. I'm sorry. And if they go on with hate speech in the group or with devaluation, you have to stop that immediately, as I told, because sometimes girls and boys, when they come together, the boys are very strong and they devaluate girls, and you have to have a zero tolerance if you work with them, because it starts on you. So another need is talking with you, yeah, judgment. So because they want to be taken seriously. So as I told, take always, or make always discussions in a eye to eye level, and get involved. So don't be scared. So even they talk about extremism or radical things or radicalization, Don't be scared. Jump in the conversation and in the discussion, and make sure that you're in the group. Because if you're scared about these topics, they will feel that, and it could be changed the whole discussion in a very bad way. So get involved, be there, be 100% there, and it is a very cool thing if you take part in discussions like that. Yeah, and the willingness for education. I wrote kids and youth workers. So if you have no idea about these topics, I think it's a very good thing that you're part in this training course now. But if you have no idea and you want to be well educated in these topics, make sure that you can educate yourself, for example, with training courses by ECYC or Salto, or with reading books about these topics, and get well educated. And it is very important if you want to educate the kids after. So make sure that you get a lot of information and still be objective with this. So even if you have no idea about Islam, for example, get ready for target discussions, because you can handle that. Even you have no idea, you can talk about social things. You can say something like moral, or you can you have a lot of knowledge of about human rights, or your national laws, and about humanity. You have also social competences, because you're a youth worker, or you're a social worker, or you're a teacher, or something like that. And you can use your experience of other radical behavior of teenager, for example, hooligans, or for example, football is a very good thing on this topic. Or you can use your knowledge about the Nazi regime in Germany. Because right-wing radicalization is very close to the Islamic radicalization. And even you have a network, you can ask experts. An expert could be a very well-educated Muslim, for example. And if you're not sure about something, or you're uncertain about something, go and ask the people. Create very detailed questions, and you will get very clearly answers. And yeah, as I told, participate in national and international projects programs, because you learn a lot of things from other social workers or youth workers as well. So make sure that you have a lot of programs, or courses. There are a lot of from ECYC, and there are a lot of about informations and the Council of Europe, or Salto, even Salto. Yeah, make sure that you have a lot of objective information, so you can create your own values. So about values, it's a very important point, because it's always starting on you. So it is very important when you working with teenagers, that you reflect your own pictures, your own meanings, and your own prejudice. Your own, I'm sure you have also the black and white thinking in some topics, but make sure that you know everything about your thinking before you start discussions with, for example, Muslims, or with teenagers who wants to talk about these topics. Your own ideas and own beliefs are very important. So if you're lying, or if you're not serious with your own values, they will feel that immediately, because they are teenagers, and if they know that you're not congruent, they will stop to believe you, or stop to talking with you about this, because they think, oh, she has no fucking idea, and that's not so good. So make sure that you reflect your own values before you start. And you cannot expect adolescents to moderate if you're not ready to work on yourself. That's a very important point, because you have to work on yourself before you can make sure that youth have a self-criticism, and the ability to reflect themselves. If you cannot do that, so if you're not sure that you can do that, please make it sure before you get discussions like that, or be transparent and say, hey, I have no idea about that, I have to educate myself before I can talk to you about this. So I think youth workers need a certain amount of self-criticism and the ability to reflect, so that they do not become self-protagonists of this hate speech I wrote down. So I think there's nothing to say more, because it's a very important point. So I let it stay. Yeah, and as I told you, it needs very well education in historical and global historical things, and about global relationships and minorities and human rights also. So make sure that you're ready for conversation and discussion before you start with them. So I think if you think about your own college time or school time or education time, you will find a lot of informations which can be very helpful. Yeah, for example, human rights. That you can take a lot of informations about human rights for discussions like that. So yeah, I think it starts in you. It's a good point, and make sure that you are ready for that. So let's talk about language. Sorry again, I'm ill. Okay, so language is a very a huge word, and we talk about that when we talk about the theory of Marshall, about nonviolent communication. So the power of definition is a very, 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 very important point, because it matters how you define something. So you can say, wow, Islam is a very bad religion, because can you see what happened in the Islamic world? But you can say, oh, do you see what happened in the Islamic world? It's not cool and it's not fair for the Muslims. So the power of definition is the most important thing, I think, because it could be on this way or in this way, in a bad way or in a positive way or in an objective way. So make sure that you always take a good way, and give voice and power, especially against the weaker ones and the ones who have no own self-responsibility. Um, even you can know that in a discussion when you see one of them say nothing. So especially ask for them, because there are a lot of good answers, but they are too shy, for example, to tell the group what they are really thinking about, but it could be very helpful. So yeah, I don't have to say anymore, because I think about that, because I think you're youth workers and social workers and teachers, and you do it very well. And again, historical review is very important when you talk about discrimination, because we have in our history, in the human history, a lot of discrimination. So the slaves, the racism, the Islamic thing, also the Catholic discrimination. So we have a lot of discrimination. Talk about that, and talk about what happened then in the centuries, for example, in the last century, or in or more older histories, and I'm sure that you find a lot of things which are still the same. Yeah, and don't forget the power of words again. So make sure that you use a very good language and a very sensitive words, a lot of sensitive words, to make sure that you not make a mistake, or to disturb the conversation, and to be good to the youth. Um, I read on empowerment, soft skills. Mm, you know that empowerment we have, that's our main job. We have to empower the youth, and even we can be a role model and use soft skills to empower them. So youth work or youth development, the goals for youth workers or social workers or teachers as well as to protect, support, and be a voice for the kids. So as I told, please always think about the shiny one, and yeah, we talk a lot of talk a lot about I talk a lot of historical thing, and extremism and radicalization is nothing new. So um, that's even a point for youth, because there are youth or teenagers are extreme in their behaviors too. So it's nothing new for them, and it's a normal behavior in this age. So they have in this age extreme positions and extreme feelings. So it's nothing new for them, and it's a very good thing, a good point to discuss with them. So because if you look to the age, to their age, that it's very normal to be in this position of extreme feelings. They have their first times, they have their first love, they have their first experience in a football stadium, they have their first experience in religion, a very they have very often first times. So it is very close to them, the word extreme. Even they don't know that they are extreme, they are. And you can talk about extremism with them very good, because very well, because they know that. So you can use different experience to get a feeling of the process when they get violent. For example, you can talk about National Socialism or racism, or hooligans, as I told, or for example, left wing extremism. So they will understand what you're meaning, and it's very close to them, because yeah, they are teenagers and they are extreme because they have extreme feelings, and that's normal. And finally, don't forget the power of media, because you know that better than me. They are spending so many time at their mobile phones, or smartphones, or tablets and computers. We talk about 24/7. It means 24 hours per 7 days. They consume a lot of media, and the problem is they make it very fast, and they don't read anymore. So they only watch videos, or for example, they in Switzerland, for example, they even don't hear something when they watch videos, so they only read the underline. So it makes no sense, I know that, but yeah, they are so fast. Okay, they are consume the media very fast, so they don't want to read anymore. So because of that, they are fast with everything. um, the World Wide Web makes it possible to find people with the same feelings and thoughts, the power of peer groups. Okay, that's a very important point, because even you say, hey, that's not a good behavior, or please don't be so extreme, don't think black and white. They will find someone who have the same feelings. So it's rather than the same with, for example, hooligans. You can talk about violence and extremism in football, and they will understand you, and they will say, yeah, it's not good, but they will find other hooligan groups who think things on the same way, or other extremism in other topics, and you will find in the World Wide Web every time people who are seeing like you. So because of that, be an early bird. If you see it adapted to our topic now again, if you see any changes, especially at Muslims, for example, a different look, or a long beard, ask for it. Is it because of fashion? Is it because they want to be a hipster? Or is it because they are getting very extreme, or they are radical, something like that? So ask for it. Be an early bird and go and ask for it. Ask every time. You have to ask a lot of questions to find out what is happening in their world. If you see posts or statements in their accounts, I'm not sure, is it possible for you to make a friendship in Facebook, for example, with your teenagers. But we can do that because in Switzerland we have a lot of accounts, and we have a company account as well. So we can be friends with them, not private. For example, the Trans Education account or the Youth Work account, you can be a friend with them, and you can check their posts. So if you see dangerous statements or posts, or extreme or about violence, ask for that and say, hey, do you understand exactly what is there written, or what is this meaning? So sometimes they know exactly what is written there, but sometimes they have no idea. So you have to ask for and explain what they post. Yeah, and there are teenagers who are not coming to your place, to your youth club, or to your school, or to your wherever you're working anymore. So please be an early bird there and ask for, hey, why are you not coming anymore? What happened? Do you have any problem, or do you don't want to be with us? So tell me, please, what is the problem? Why are not coming anymore? So our task for working or discussion with youth is always there's 5 steps. So we always try to stop negative comments immediately. So don't give them space to talk about negative things, or they can talk about negative things, but not in a negative way. So especially the gender things, they can talk about girls in a bad way. So stop that immediately. It helps to work against violent communication. So the second thing is advert early at negative comments and be consequent. No bad comments about marginalized groups. So because sometimes they make jokes about Black people, or about women in burqa as well, or sometimes about refugees, but all the same to that point. Stop that immediately, including jokes, because I think they will be more sensitive with their own language if you give no space for that. The third thing is be a role model. It starts in your language. So make sure that you use a very sensitive language, and rather don't choose a language which they don't like or they don't understand. Take it easy. Yeah. and be a good role model with language. And the fourth thing is be sensitive. So I talked about they want to be taken seriously, and sometimes they can't explain themselves very well, but make sure that you understand them and you you take them seriously and be congruent with them. So don't think, oh yeah, that's a children, so I don't have to be serious. So you have to, because yeah, their parents do the same. Sometimes they give short answers, and that's not good because they want to be seriously taken seriously. Yeah, and the fifth thing is that it starts on you. So before you get in a discussion or before you work on a non-violent communication with your teenagers, um, you have to make sure that you have own values and that you can talk about that. Yeah, so especially if you talk about violent extremism or radicalization of youth, make sure that you have own value. So, and we came to the last things. I take a picture from the 50s. It is showing a restroom rule. So it was something like separate the white and the colored. Um, you can use pictures like that and ask for what they think about that, because something like that shouldn't be happened again. This is propaganda, but language could also be propaganda posters or campaigns. So make sure that they be sensitive with this, and keep your eyes open and make sure that the teenagers understand what has happened in this time. So it makes them more sensitive for the future. It's very hard thing, but in Europe, right wing politics get more and more power. That's a dangerous development. So because of that, we have to make sure that our teenagers think different, and they are the future. So we have to talk about something like that to make sure that the right wings get not more power. This is a picture from Germany. That's from the right-wing party called AfD. It is called Alternative for Germany. But that's a very bad alternative for Germany, because it's a right-wing party. And they use posters like this. And we start at the left picture. There's written New Germans, we do it ourselves. And it shows a pregnant lady. So it means we don't need migrants, we don't need refugees in our country. We do our babies by ourselves. So that's a propaganda to make sure that we're still Germans in Germany, and we don't want to mix it up with other nations. The second one shows Bavarian. That's a Bavarian dress. So they are Bavarian girls drinking wine, white wine, and there's written Burka. I'm up for Burgunder wine. That's a traditional German wine. So what that means? It means I don't need that. Don't need burqa. It's a joke about words. I don't need burqa. I need burgunda. Okay, I don't need a hijabi or some different clothes. I only need my burgunda wine. Yeah. And the last one shows a pig, and you know as well that in Islam that's not allowed to eat pork. And there's written Islam that's not working in our kitchen. So that means if you're not agree with our food or our German kitchen. So or it means more than Islam is not agree with Germany or with our culture, with the German culture. It's not working at our kitchen. Yeah. I get now a message that my screen is not shared with you. That's very bad because I'm on the final of my presentation. I hope you get a lot of information as well. Yeah, that's a very bad thing now, but I hope I can send you the presentation. Then you can take a look of that, what I've talked about after this presentation. And the last thing what I want to say is if you want more information and want to learn more about communication, you have to go back to school and learn more about communication with concepts. For example, we talked about Marshall Rosenberg today, but it's also cool to take the concepts from Watzlawick, for example, with the axioms, or person-centered therapy by Carl Rogers. Yeah, you can also take Schultz von Thun. It's a four sides model of communication. You know that. It could be very helpful if you want to learn more about communication. So yeah, I think I'm on the end of my presentation. Sorry, I have taken a lot of time, but I hope it was very helpful. And yeah, as I told, you get the PowerPoint presentation after with an email, or they will. I think the trainers will make sure that you get the PowerPoint informations as well. So thank you for your time. See you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.